Will the second tranche of the IMF disbursement to Sri Lanka be delayed? All the while, poverty is increasing in the country. Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. We've got the details of these stories and much more lined up for you tonight.
Before we start off, we'll take a look at your headlines for tonight.
No international inquiry into Easter Sunday terror attacks, and UNHRC report is rejected, President tells German media. Will the second tranche of the IMF support program be delayed further? Poverty in Sri Lanka projected to increase in 2023. Online safety bill that affects social media and online activity tabled in Parliament. Judicial Services Association asks Chief Justice to protect the independence of the judiciary. More rains expected for the southwestern parts of Sri Lanka.
In your top story tonight, Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe said in an interview to German media that the island nation will not call for an international inquiry into the Easter Sunday attacks.
And President Wickremesinghe was part of a fiery interview with DW, in which he also said that he rejects the report produced by the United Nations Human Rights Council.
Okay, let's go to what has become probably one of the biggest stories in Sri Lanka over the last couple of weeks, which is a Channel 4 report on the presumed collusion of members of the state with a terrorist group in what is the worst terrorist episode.
Why do you treat Channel 4 as sacred?
I don't. I actually don't. I just think that
a lot of people in Britain don't.
So is this just, I mean, you flatly deny...
Why are you only asking Channel 4?
I'm not asking Channel 4. What I'm saying is that there is a very, just a second, there is a very concrete accusation. When there is an accusation of this size...
Look, just because the media gives accusation, why should I do it?
Well, I mean...
The former Attorney General has made accusation, the former Director of CID has made accusation. Why only that? Ask me on all four.
It's really not just Channel 4. It's a Catholic church that is asking for an investigation. It's actually a former president under whom you served.
Look, I'm asking you that. You didn't ask me that. When I pressed you only, you said that that he wanted that former president asked for it. You came with the Channel 4 report as gospel truth.
The point here is not gospel truth. Let me look.
Can you let me answer?
By all means, please. Please do.
Firstly, in regard to the Channel 4, I have appointed a committee with a judge who's heading the committee, a former commander of the Air Force and a well-known lawyer to go into it. Secondly, in regard to the
there is nobody that believes that this commission has teeth enough to do anything other than
that is your view, not mine.
No, it's not mine. These are actually the if I may ask you a question.
Let me finish off.
You don't need to answer. You don't want, but I can ask.
Look, I am telling you, that is your view, not mine.
No.
The committee.
This is a Catholic church.
Forget. I am not asking the Catholic church. I am giving a reply. That is only I am dealing with the Bishops' Conference, not with the Cardinal.
Okay, what about...
So the Bishops' Conference wanted all the proceedings of the commission. I gave.
We're looking for an independent investigation that is transparent.
There was the independent commission that they agreed.
Well,
just because as far as I am concerned, you don't deal with the cardinals with the Bishops' Conference. I do. And they come and meet me, not you. You sit here, take a piece of paper.
Certainly.
No, I have talked to the Bishops' Conference. I talk to them when I go back again. The second one is a parliamentary committee. So if there's anything that is not done on this, the parliamentary committee will again go into it. It's Parliament that has to finally decide. As far as President Sirisena's matter is concerned, I am going to he'll meet me when I come back. And I speak to him because since he appointed one commission, I want to ask him whether he wants to. I have done nothing. I am not involved in it. I am trying to resolve it. And you take a piece of paper by the cardinal and you're reading it out there. Have you spoken to the Bishops' Conference?
Sorry?
Have you spoken to the Catholic bishop?
No, I have not.
Then you have no right to ask me this question.
Well, I think that's an exaggeration. I think that it's in the public interest to ask the question.
The public interest I am answering. Who are you?
So, can I move on to the next question?
Okay.
So here is, I mean, you cannot sort of, I think...
No, you didn't come here to ask questions, you try to corner me. the government is not doing anything.
I have certainly not claimed that you're not doing anything.
You take this Western attitude out. I said, you are doing it.
I think it's actually the case that you have several people that have requested an international aided independent investigation of the Eastern bombings.
Sri Lanka government doesn't have international inquiries. Full stop. A few people may have asked, but Parliament doesn't. And there is, I forgot to tell you, the FBI report which says that no one outside was involved. We had the FBI, we had the British police, we had the Australians, we had the Indians, we had the Chinese, all there, and the Pakistanis.
You do realize that this makes it look like you're paying lip service to the question of accountability. I'm not saying that you are.
I am not
saying
that. No, sorry. If the FBI has come in, if the Indians have come in, if the English have come in, if the Australians have come in, if the Chinese have come in, and if those secret services agencies have given reports, then what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying that you have.
What I'm saying is you're talking nonsense.
May I ask? It might well be, but you have a long history. May I ask a question? You can answer whatever way you want, but if you would let me ask the question, then at least we can get to that.
I'm telling you, don't come and accuse me. That is not the way you run. Look, I have been doing this game long before you.
I believe you.
I've been running, I've been involved in television, I've been in media.
That's perfectly fine.
Okay, right.
You will not, you will simply not accept.
I am telling you, we have a thing that the Western media thinks we are bad. The way we have inquiries, we are by using Sri Lankan personnel. Now you are saying, look, that is out. We don't.
I don't.
It is out. We will not have international inquiries on any issues. UK hasn't got, Germany hasn't got. What have you got? What is the international inquiry you are going into? What are the ones that UK has gone into? Why this poor Sri Lanka and Asians? You think we are second class?
No, I don't. I don't. I actually think.
Okay. Do you think we are second class?
I don't.
Then why are you asking that?
Because you have a history of commissions since 2008, at least, till today, that have essentially produced nothing. I can list them for you. Udalagama, lessons learned,
Can I tell you? This was the commission about the Easter blast.
Indeed.
And there have been enough of those. We have acted on all that. On reconciliation is a different matter. There are commissions we have acted on, we haven't.
Mr. Vitu, you can actually go yourself, and I'm sure you have seen the UN report for less than a month ago that is still talking about. May I finish the question?
No, I'm telling you.
Can I finish the question?
That UN report has been rejected.
By whom?
The government of Sri Lanka has rejected it.
Okay, the government of Sri Lanka
who has
rejected
given it? I am not accepting that UN report.
So the UN is wrong about this?
Not the UN. The
Human Rights Commission is right.
Wrong. Yes.
The Human Rights Commission is wrong. Clearly, Amnesty and Human Rights Watch are wrong as well.
Human Rights Commission is wrong.
Okay, so
the report
the fact is that
Human Rights Commissioner, if Amnesty International says they are something new, let them come.
Former Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa said that there is still more time to express an opinion on President Ranil Wickremesinghe's governance.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the leader of the SLPP, visited the Hunupitiya Gangarama temple and thereafter engaged with the media.
ආණ්ඩුව කරගෙන යනවා ඉස්සරහට ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා ප්‍රශ්න විසඳගෙන හිමින් ඉදිරියට යන්න ඕන හැමෝම එකතු වෙන්න ඕන කියලා ඔය නිකන් එක්කව වෙන තරමට වඩා හොඳයිනේ හැමෝම එක්කව වෙලා රට ගොඩනගා ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒක තමයි මම හිතන්නේ කරන්න ඕන ඔබතුමා යලිත් කරලියට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා කොහොමද ඉස්සරහට ඉදිරියට කරලියට ඉතින් එනවා යනවා ඒක තමයි විදුලි බිල අයිමත් වැඩි කරන්න යනවා කියලා ජනතාවගේ චෝදනා ඉල්ලනවා ඒක තරම් හොඳ නැහැ විදුලි බිල වැඩි කරාම මේ අපිටත් තමයි අමාරුයි රටේ හැම මිනිහටම අමාරුයි ඒක
SLPP parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa met with the ex-local government members at the SLPP head office premises.
Firstly, we did not speak about the presidential election today. Secondly, we will move forward with a victorious program that will protect our movement. We will decide on the person at the appropriate time. Until then, we will proceed with the program.
පොඩි වැඩි ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂකයට කියලා කල් තියෙනවා කියලා ඔබතුමා ඒක පිළිගන්නවද?
තාත්තනේ තාත්තට පුතා කොච්චර වයසට ගියත් පොඩි.
He is my father, and no matter how old I get, I am still a small child to him. That is a father's love. The first battle was to contest for the parliament from Hambantota. He said, when a fish is in the sea, it needs to know how to swim. So I created my own battle.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe has said that the situation surrounding the delayed second tranche of the IMF support program will be resolved in a week.
He elaborated this during an interview with DW, a German public state-owned international broadcaster.
Is there a particular plan to actually accelerate this process?
It's not that they are stopping the second package, that we have come to an agreement. We are of the view that we will have the results of what we've done this year will be shown next year. In regard to the targets, it was always felt that some of the targets may not be achieved and they were told of it. And now we are talking of how we can fill that gap. And in regard to it, there are some proposals to which we have not agreed because we feel it might add to the burdens of the ordinary people. The IMF has asked us to come up with alternate proposals. Before I left, the alternate proposals were given to them, but they were leaving the next day.
But sorry for interrupting, but you do have an historical and serious problem with tax evasion, and this cannot be news to you since you've been in power since
Look, I am the first one to admit that. And we say that we have to need a new revenue authority. I brought it up in 2003, and I lost the election, 2004. But it's not only a question of revenue evasion, which we have agreed. It is from where are you going to take that money in? Revenue evasion cannot be overcome in 1 year. We're already talking and they've already given us, we've agreed with many of it. It's just where do we find the money at the present times?
It will be resolved.
It will be resolved.
How long do you think it will take?
I think by next week it will be resolved.
There is actually a very pressing.
The opposition leader raised questions over the delayed second tranche of the IMF-supported program.
When will Sri Lanka be able to access the second tranche of the IMF's extended fund facility? Will the electricity and water tariffs and fuel and gas prices be increased again for this purpose? What is the amount in state revenue that the government aims to increase? The IMF says that improper use of public property and corruption paved the way for the economic crisis. The IMF also says that welfare has collapsed and there is no national anti-corruption plan. It also speaks of the collapse in the rule of law. Will the government admit that the second tranche was delayed because of the weaknesses mentioned in this report?
ගරු මුදල් රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යතුමා විසින් හෙට දිනේදී මේ පිළිබඳව සවිස්තර පිළිතුරක් ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා.
SLPP lawmaker Nama Rajapaksa also commented on the IMF program.
There is a question for the Ministry of Finance. The discussions are carried out by the Finance Minister. However, we feel that the tariff and prices are being increased under the guise of the IMF program. Instead of depending on the IMF, we should focus on the domestic economic mechanisms. We made a request from the President as a party. We also hope to produce a series of proposals. We hope that proposals that would develop the household economy and the village economy will be included in the budget. I also do not think the government should bow down to everything that the IMF says. The President had told the international media that not everything the IMF says can be achieved. I'm not sure if such comments were made to local media. The World Bank country report for Sri Lanka reported that despite initial signs of stabilization in the first half of 2023, the macroeconomic outlook remains uncertain, contingent on successful debt restructuring and structural reforms. The World Bank country report says that Sri Lanka's tax performance is far below its potential when compared with other countries at a similar level of development and trade. It also noted that Sri Lanka's tax collection in 2020 was the lowest among peers. It went on to note that tax revenue decline was driven by a fall in VAT and excise collections, adding that VAT collections have not kept up with the growth in final consumption in the economy. The World Bank report added that capital taxation could be strengthened by introducing non-distortive taxes like wealth, gift and inheritance taxes. The introduction of a wealth tax could be a useful means of raising revenue in a non-distortive and equitable manner if the full implementation of taxation of capital income is not feasible. It noted that Sri Lanka used to have a wealth tax, but this was abolished in 1992, and this tax may need to be reinstated, albeit with a better design. It noted that Sri Lanka's tax system is going through a period of significant reform, which is needed to stem the decline in revenue performance over the last 3 decades, and especially since 2019. The report said that overall revenue adjustment needs to be guided by a strategic reform plan that includes an appropriate sequencing of reforms in line with technical and capacity considerations. The World Bank country report for Sri Lanka reported that poverty is projected to increase in 2023 before declining over the medium term in line with the slow recovery. Poverty reduction could resume from 2024 and continue in 2025, but this depends on continued implementation of structural reforms and a restoration of economic growth and job creation.
Reuters reported that Sri Lanka's major creditors such as Japan, India and France are likely to reach a broad agreement this month on debt reduction steps, including extending repayments.
Reuters, quoting the Sanke newspaper, reported that Sri Lanka has held multiple rounds of talks with bondholders and bilateral creditors including Japan, China and India on reworking its foreign debt after suspending repayments in May last year. It said that a group of Sri Lanka's major creditors including the United States, Japan and India want to sign a memorandum of understanding with the country around the time of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank meetings later this month in Morocco. China has resisted joining the group, but it remains an observer. A senior Japanese finance ministry official told Reuters that they are aiming to reach an agreement among creditor nations with or without China. The US government said a bondholder's lawsuit against Sri Lanka over the country's historic debt default should be put on hold. In a statement of interest filed in the New York federal court, the US backed Sri Lankan government's request to delay a lawsuit by Hamilton Reserve Bank Limited seeking full payment and accrued interest on more than $250 million in bonds that came due in July 2022. The US said the delay would help with ongoing restructuring talks between the South Asian country and other creditors. Sri Lanka fell into default in May 2022 after the expiration of a 30-day grace period for missed interest payments on 2 of its sovereign bonds, the first debt default by the country since it gained independence from Britain in 1948. Hamilton Bank sued Sri Lanka in July 2022. Sri Lanka in July asked US District Judge Denise Cote to put the case on hold for 6 months. Cote had put her decision on hold until the US decided whether or not to file a statement of interest. The French and UK governments previously asked the court to put the suit on hold. Hamilton Reserve has opposed the bid to postpone the proceedings, saying that putting them on hold, quote, would be both contrary to US policy interests and an exercise in futility, unquote.
The University of Ruhuna announced that it has decided to step away from the research program that was to take place with the Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Shiyan-6.
The Chinese vessel's visit also drew concern from neighboring India. Now, Sri Lanka Navy earlier confirmed that the Shiyan-6 was to dock in Sri Lanka on the 25th of October. However, diplomatic level clearance has not been granted by Sri Lankan authorities even by last evening.
The Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Shiyan-6 was located some 474 nautical miles away from the Hambantota port this evening. According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, diplomatic level clearance was not provided for the Shiyan-6 to dock in any of Sri Lanka's ports. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that as the Shiyan-6 is a designated research vessel, the dates and areas it intends to conduct its research should be communicated to the country's foreign ministry. The National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, also known as NARA, earlier said that the Chinese geophysical scientific research vessel Shiyan-6 will be reaching Sri Lanka as per an agreement reached with the University of Ruhuna. However, the University of Ruhuna announced that one of the 2 university lecturers who represented the university in agreeing to conduct joint research with the Shiyan-6 had migrated overseas, and the other lecturer had stepped away from the country's university system completely.
The online safety bill was tabled in Parliament by Public Security Minister Tiran Alas. The new bill aims to introduce legislation to reduce online activity.
මාර්ගගත ක්‍රමවල සුරක්ෂිතභාවය පිළිබඳ පනත් කෙටුම්පත මම ඉදිරිපත් කරමි.
විපක්ෂයේ වෙනුවෙන් අපි සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම මේ පන්තට විරුද්ධයි.
The opposition is completely against this bill. This bill has attracted widespread international condemnation. We are in the defendant's box internationally. When this bill is passed, we are moved from the defendant's box to the news. Communication is a matter for the media. How can the minister in charge of police present this? This has been given to the police. Communication has been given to the police. The minister in charge of media is not even here. The objective of the government is clear via this bill.
මේ පනත මේක මුලින්ම මේකට ක්‍රියා
This bill was first acted upon by the Law Council under their government. That document was given to the Justice Ministry and following minor adjustments was given to us to introduce the bill. This is a document that was prepared by the Law Commission in 2016.
ඒ law commission එකෙන් හදපු document එකක් තමයි මේක.
ඒතකොට කවදාද මේක න්‍යාය පත්‍රයට ඇතුළත් කළේ ගිය බදාදා. ඒ කියන්නේ
This was included in the agenda last Wednesday, that means the 27th of September. Thereafter came the long holiday until the 1st of October. Tradition in Parliament is that a matter is included in the Parliament agenda on Friday, not Wednesday. If the long holiday did not exist, the bill should have been included in the agenda on the 29th of September. What is the result of this? Any person, including myself, has the right to approach the Supreme Court. However, the period of 2 weeks to approach the Supreme Court has been reduced to 1 week. Honorable GL Pires, the count of 14 days commences today. Will you responsibly say that the 2-week period begins today? As per the Constitution, the 14 days begin today.
Journalist Tharindu Uduwaragedara filed a fundamental rights application with the Supreme Court challenging the online safety bill. The application was filed by our President's Counsel Dr. Jayampati Vikramaratne.
News first with the people.
The Judicial Services Association has requested the Chief Justice to investigate the reasons and those responsible for the resignation of Mullaitivu magistrate and also to take the necessary measures to do away with the obstacles that are in place for courts and judges to function independently in an unbiased manner as institution as well as individuals. The Judicial Services Association serves as the professional body for district judges and magistrates, and in its letter to the Chief Justice it notes that it would unconditionally stand up for the independence and integrity of the judiciary.
The chairman of the Judicial Services Association, Kulyapitiya District Judge Ruwandisa Naika, and its secretary Colombo Additional Magistrate Pasan Amarasena signed a letter addressed to Chief Justice Jayanta Jayasurya. Copies of this letter were also directed to the members of the Judicial Services Commission and its secretariat. The Judicial Services Association in its letter to the Chief Justice pointed out that the resignation of the Mullaitivu magistrate was not something that took place overnight. The letter notes that the resignation of the Mullaitivu magistrate is the anticipated result of a planned and targeted campaign to smear the faith placed by the public in the judiciary. A translation of a section of the letter states,
On the 7th of July, a parliamentarian criticized an interim order given by the Mullaitivu magistrate in contravention of parliamentary traditions, blatantly hiding behind the cover of parliamentary privilege, and the parliamentarian engaged in a shameful attempt to single out the magistrate based on a communal basis. The Judicial Services Commission was informed of this, and the Minister of Justice, who bears the responsibility to correct this matter in Parliament, was informed of this in writing. The Minister of Justice had informed the Judicial Services Commission that steps will be taken in Parliament to stop such statements regarding matters that are being adjudicated in court being made under the cover of parliamentary privilege. However, even after that, during debates in Parliament, Mullaitivu Magistrate T. Sarvanaraja was blatantly attacked personally over an order made by the magistrate, and parties that are responsible to protect the independence of the judiciary had taken no steps to prevent this from happening both inside and outside of Parliament. It is seen that the failure to take these steps had caused these destructive results.
In translation of the extracted text. The Judicial Services Association states that if a judge is fleeing the country, and in his letter of resignation stating that the reason for his sudden resignation is threats being levelled against him over judicial decisions that he pronounced, the breakdown in public trust in the justice system in the country cannot be easily restored. The letter further states that if one believes that criticism levelled against the judge or the judicial system would remedy the breakdown in public faith in the justice system, it is almost as if that person is strangling himself with his own hands.
Sri Lanka's Justice Minister Dr. Vichayadasa Rajapaksa said that the government and the President have no responsibility over the resignation of the Mullaitivu District Court Judge.
The Judicial Services Commission received the letter over the resignation of the Bulletin District Court Judge, citing mental stress and threats to life after he had left the country. If there was no mental stress and threats to life, there is no need for him to go overseas and then send the letter. If there is any influence on a judge, it does not matter if it comes from the government, MP, minister or an ordinary citizen. The judge is constitutionally empowered to summon the person in question, issue a warrant and even go for trial and prosecute the person. The matter can be raised with the appeal court and the Supreme Court. The power is vested with the judge. If he did not exercise that power, he needs to be held responsible for it. In addition, the government is not responsible for this because the disciplinary officer of the judges and magistrates is the Judicial Services Commission, which is an independent commission that is set up as per the Constitution. The President and the government has no right to investigate that judge. That power lies with the Judicial Services Commission. He was influenced to reverse a ruling that he delivered. That is the truth. It was reported in the state-run paper as well. That is what he called stress. The person who had such influence should be known. File a defamation case against that person. Instead of doing that, you are blaming the government. Are we controlling the judiciary? We pass the laws and provide the facilities. We do not control the judiciary.
Honorable Minister for Justice, you can't take the position that there has been no pressure on him. Even in this house, you yourself have made a speech. Lawyers have demonstrated, walked out for more than a month. This has been going on. So you can't say if there was pressure he could have taken steps. We all know, the whole world knows that there was pressure. Even in this house you made a statement also about that.
The only MP in this parliament who has had a great influence on the courts is Sumandiran. On the 20th of October 2021 you said in parliament that there can be no faith in the Supreme Court. Did you not say that the Supreme Court should be sent off?
No, since he mentioned my name, the question that I asked him was something else, and he goes and says something totally different. Are you not able to answer that question? That is what it says.
අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වයට ඍජුව බලපෑම් කළ කරේ රටේ ජනාධිපති රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයා.
It was Ranil Wickremesinghe who directly interfered with the independence of the judiciary. When the case filed over the EPF was being heard at the Supreme Court, he made a statement noting that no matter what ruling is delivered, only the decision given by the parliament is valid. That is a direct influence on the judiciary. The speaker also made a comment on a legal matter in parliament, and that was indirect intervention. Judges are stepping down because of such conduct.
ඉතින් එවැනි ක්‍රියාමාර්ග හරහා තමයි විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ට ඉල්ලාස් වෙන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
නොඑක් උපකල්පන අදහස් සැක සංකා පහළ වෙනවා. ඒවා වැළැක්වීමට හොඳම
Various assumptions and suspicions are raised. The key method to prevent this is to have it investigated by a suitable authority and make the observations public. It is my personal view that judges should not be named, indirectly mentioned or criticized in this house. The judges have no way to respond to those allegations.
මගේ මතය. එමද මේ විනිශ්චයකාරවරුන්ට ඒ චෝදනාවලට පිළිතුරු දීමට හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
ඊළඟට අලුත්ම නාටකම තමයි මේ මුලතිව් මහේස්ත්‍රාත්වරයා. හැබැයි මුලතිව් මහේස්ත්‍රාත්තුමාට
The latest drama is the one surrounding the magistrate of Mullaitivu. If the magistrate of Mullaitivu is saying that he was under stress and if there were threats, he could have filed a complaint. Instead of doing so, he is engaged in a program that would allow him to live overseas and obtain citizenship. This needs to be investigated.
පරිසරය හදාගන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් පිටරටක පුරවැසිභාවය ගන්න පාර කපා ගන්න. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ මේක පුළුල් පරීක්ෂණයක් කරන්න.
A protest took place opposite the Mullaitivu court complex demanding a proper investigation into the reasons that led to the resignation of Mullaitivu magistrate and district judge T. Saravanaraja. The protest was organized by the Lawyers Association of the Northern Province.
All the lawyers in the Bar Association, be it Sinhala, Tamil or Muslim, are sworn to protect the law of the country. Therefore, we condemn the blow on the people's right to the law that was made for petty political gains.
News First correspondents also reported that lawyers in the Northern Province stepped away from judicial matters, seeking judicial independence to be protected. Protests also took place in Trincomalee, Batiklo and Ampara in support of the protest that took place in Mullaitivu.
State Ministry of Finance Shehan Semasinghe said plans are in place to operationalize evaluation in the public sector from January 2024. Now he expressed these views at the inauguration ceremony of the National Evaluation Week 2023 in Colombo today.
National Evaluation Week 2023 is being held in Colombo from the 2nd to the 6th of October. The theme for the Eval Week 2023 is Evaluation for Sustainable Development in Sri Lanka.
Successful evaluation of public processes is crucial for the sustainable development of the country. It also promotes accountability and transparency while ensuring taxpayers' funds are utilized effectively and for the intent purposes, thereby minimizing corruption and mismanagement. It is planned to operationalize evaluation in the public sector starting in January 2024, and all required allocations are being undertaken by the Ministry of Finance. This isn't a passive transformation. It demands intentional action and commitments cascading down from senior management. Organizations must proactively engage, encourage, implement and support this cultural shift. In our pursuit of sustainable development, fostering an evaluative culture is very much of paramount. It empowers decision makers and policy makers to incorporate evaluative thinking into our country's development processes.
This is the first ever National Evaluation Week and it is being held aiming to improve the availability of influential evaluations and ensure their utilization within the public sector. Divisavya, the second leg of the Divisavya program to provide much needed school books and stationery items to school children in Sri Lanka. 4th of October, Hingurakuda, Polonnaruwa.
දයි දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතය වෙනුවෙන් දිවිසවිය LOLC ප්‍රජාසත්කාරක මෙහෙවර.
Strong tremors were felt in Delhi after multiple earthquakes hit Nepal at a magnitude of 4.6 and 6.2 within 25 minutes of each other, a third of 3.8 magnitude 15 minutes after, and a fourth 3.1 magnitude 13 minutes later.
The first earthquake hit at 2:25 p.m. Indian time. According to the National Center for Seismology, there was also a 5.2 magnitude earthquake in Arunachal Pradesh at 3:27 p.m. International Standard Time and a 3.3 magnitude disturbance in Uttarakhand minutes later. The epicenter for the strongest quake was 206 kilometers southeast of Joshimath in Uttarakhand and 284 north of Lucknow. The earthquake was felt in Delhi and other parts of the national capital region.
Afghanistan locked horns with Sri Lanka in the 8th warm-up game ahead of the ICC World Cup 2023 in Guwahati.
Instead of qualifying for the World Cup, go for Mauritius. We are with the new ball in the handle.
Fans can watch the action of all matches of the ICC Cricket World Cup live on TV1, Sri Lanka's broadcast rights holder.
Getting an out gets it this time, gets it now.
Now that's a wrap of primetime news on TV1 for tonight. But before we leave, we've got one final sports story lined up for you. Sri Lanka won an Asian Games medal in their athletics for the first time in 17 years earlier this evening.
Sri Lanka's Nadisha Dilhani Lekhamge bagged silver in the women's javelin throw in the ongoing Asian Games 2022 in Hangzhou, China.
Sri Lanka's Nadisha Lekhamge bagged silver with a personal best throw of 61.57 meters. Incidentally, this is Sri Lanka's first ever Asian Games medal in athletics after Susantika Jayasinghe won a medal back in 2006. India's Annu Rani claimed the gold medal in the women's javelin throw event, while Hui Hui Liu of China won bronze.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. For the News First team, I'm Naveksha Gunasekara.
And I'm Shalin Benedict. Good night.
Good night.